All right. Chainsaw Man chapter 167 dropped today, and there is quite a bit to talk about. Um, doo-doo-doo. So, I'll be honest, the chapter is pretty short. I finished it in about 20 seconds, just like Denji, and that's, the chapter is a pretty action heavy chapter. So not a whole lot of dialogue, but I think there is quite a bit to discuss. But anyways, the chapter starts with Yoru in the alley, digging around for something that she can chop off Denji's pee with. And even from the first page, you already get a sense of what's going to happen in the next couple pages. Just because the way Fujimoto decided to draw Yoru here, like she's covered in the rainwater, she's very wet. So you already get the mood that Fujimoto is going for here. So Denji is flabbergasted that Yoru really intends to cut his dick off. I guess he thought maybe she was joking. Um, but Denji kind of struggles with Yoru a bit to get the knife out of her hand so that his member doesn't get, removed. And it's kind of like a movie trope where two characters kind of lightly struggle and then they end up getting intimate after that. Some classic scenes of such trope. And Yoru, after losing the knife, sticks her hand into Denji's pants and threatens to crush his balls. And before she gets to do that, she remembers that she once kissed Denji because Nayuta erased her memories of that back in chapter like 120, I want to say. But before we go any further, so let's discuss why she remembered. So Yoru remembered because some people theorize that Nayuta is currently dying. That's why Yoru remembered, because Nayuta's powers are weakening as she is dying. I don't really believe that because we have another example of the Control Devil's powers back when back with Aki, Makima, and Angel on the beach. So back in that beach scene, Angel remembered what Makima did to him as he saw what she is doing to Aki because the environment was similar, right? They both happened on the beach, and the event is also similar in that Makima is brainwashing Aki. So that makes Angel come to his senses and break free of Makima's spell. So in this case, I guess Yoru would also have to have a similar seeing. She's experiencing something similar to what happened the last time she kissed Denji. Also, Yoru is giving like the horniest eyes I've ever seen in my life. But so all right, so to get to the point, I think what triggered Yoru's memories here is the smell. Because the last thing Denji said before Yoru kissed Denji last time, and before Nayuta, broke into the house and like erased her memories, was that Denji mentioned he said like if he stinks. He asked if he stinks because he was under the impression that Asa was being cold to him because he smelled like a dog. And also, Yoru, she doesn't see faces. She can't recognize faces. So in this case, the biggest thing that would trigger her memory of the previous event, I think, would be the smell. Also, they're in an alley. So like alley typically don't smell very good. So I think that's what's happening here, is that the smell is triggering her memories. Also, let me make this bigger. So also, there's this idea that memories from smell is usually the longest lasting memories. In that there's this idea that a lot of your nostalgia is being activated by smell. So there's this idea that like smell, it's the deepest rooted memory in your head, and it's like the last one to go. But it's something that probably needs more research on. But there is probably I think that's what's going on here. I'm not too sure, but that's my general idea of it. And the next couple panels are probably my favorite of the chapter, in that I really think Fujimoto does his best work when there is no dialogue. Not that he writes bad dialogue, but I think the way he conveys expression is just really top notch. Um, just from these next couple panels, you can kind of see like what's going through their head, even without any words. So, like in the first panel, Denji is still surprised, he's still flabbergasted, as Yoru's going for seconds. Um, but then she's also surprised in that she's as if she did the second kiss just out of instinct, and she completely falls into her lust and went for a thirds, while Denji is still pretty confused. And as she does that, her hand goes to work and she continues to suck on Denji's lips. And she's in a trance while Denji is still, he doesn't know what's going on. But Denji finally reciprocates, and you can kind of see that Yoru here, she's reacting to Denji's affection, I guess, and then she's going deeper on the kiss. So we're doing like a play by play here, like a sports commentator. But Denji doesn't last very long, and his eyes rolls into the back of his head as he lets out his manly essences. And Yoru transforms back into Asa. And Denji leaves his stain on her hand. So there are some stuff that we should go over other than just the faces. So the first is that we have the idea, I think Asa and Yoru may be turning into one entity. They may be merging into a single person. Because we know that Asa has feelings for Denji. And Yoru and Asa, they share the same, they can read each other's thoughts and intent. Or at least Yoru can read Asa's thoughts and intent. And we also kind of see a bit less differences in their designs. Maybe it's the wet hair, but like in this picture, she looks just like Asa. Because Yoru usually has her hair down and not tied up. That's the distinction that Fujimoto has been using up to this point, from what I remember. But yeah, like in this picture. So even their designs are kind of getting muddled a little bit. But other than that, Yoru just hasn't been very important. She hasn't been her character hasn't been very present in the story thus far. Despite, after the first couple chapters of part two, you would have thought that she would have played a big role up to this point, but she really hasn't. We don't know much about her motivation, we know her motivation, but like it's not very fleshed out. Her personality is kind of one dimensional up to this point. And most maybe not most important of all, but mostly there is some inconsistencies in her goals of cutting down Chainsaw Man. Because in the past, after Denji's skirmish with the Falling Devil, Yoru told Asa to kill him while he is weakened, while he's passed out. And a couple chapters ago, Yoru said that she needs to fight him while he is in full 100% condition. So there's some pretty big inconsistencies there. And that can suggest that her motivation maybe isn't really that defined. Or maybe it's really just an excuse to be closer to Denji. Because like a lot of stuff she's done hasn't really been, about killing him per se. Also in the past, we kind of see that Pochita adopted some of Denji's personalities, even though his fusion, I guess, with Denji isn't as deep as Asa and Yoru's. So like back in part one, we see that Pochita adopted a lot of Denji's goals and dreams and ideals. So I guess in this case, it makes a lot of sense for Asa and Yoru to be merging into the same entity. And speaking of design, even in the panel where Asa is transformed back, she's given her autonomy back. Her eyes are still kind of the circular swirly eyes that Yoru has. So I think there's definitely some fusion of their characters here. But as far as what's the future for the characters, so I think next chapter, Asa is just definitely gonna run away because she got some manly juices on her hands, and she's historically not been very receptive of lewd stuff, so she's probably just gonna run away from everyone else because she's embarrassed, she's shocked, she's, I guess, confused about her feelings and whatnot. So, and I guess she would run into Yoshida maybe. We haven't seen Yoshida in a bit. And the last time Asa had a issue with Denji, she immediately ran into Yoshida. So I think that may happen. Or maybe she'll just run into a whole new character. I think it's like it'd be a cool time to introduce the Death Devil or like another big antagonist while this is going on to provide a break from the current, because I feel like we're entering a downtime in the action of the story. So I think it'd be a cool time if we were to introduce another antagonist at the time. But I think she might get captured because we need an excuse to separate Denji and Asa, maybe. And also she might explore the identity crisis we just talked about between Asa and Yoru. And as for Denji, I think that's maybe easier to guess. So Denji, he's definitely going to experience some very strong post-nut clarity. And with that comes a lot of his negativity towards himself, as well as guilt for what happened. Because he's going to feel guilt for getting, his pee-pee wanked instead of saving Nayuta, instead of spending time looking for Nayuta. And he does feel some guilt for the chainsaw apocalypse that's happening, because he's acknowledging the corpses. He's acknowledging the death that the chainsaws are causing. I think a chapter or two ago, maybe it's last chapter. So Denji is going to be motivated to do stuff, but the issue is that there's really nothing for him to do at the moment because he doesn't have a clear, direct goal that he can reach, right? Because back in part 1, when he was really motivated, he knew, he just went to Makima and fought her. Whereas in this case, he doesn't know where Nayuta is. He doesn't know who to fight to solve his problems because he already fought all the Barum and his friends and the other hybrid devils. So there's really nothing for him to do for the most part. Like, the worst is over as far as actionable items for Denji. So I'm not really sure what's gonna happen with him. I guess maybe bonding time with Katana Man. I don't really know. It's hard to guess. But anyways, the ending chapter note that it basically just says that it's an unexpected release. So in case if you were wondering whether Denji came in his pants on purpose, he did not. Just to clear any confusion up. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the chapter. A quick chapter, but let me see. Oh, I got some. All right, time to read some comments. Oh brother, this chapter. You hope Nayuta is alive so she can save us. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about her dying. As I said, there's some people think that Yoru remembered because Nayuta is dying, but you have to remember that it's been like over a week since she was attacked. So if she were to, the effect of her death would have been felt by now, I think. Let's see. Also, alcohol does the memory trick by odor. Maybe they have an argument that leads to them departing. I guess that's referring to Yoru and Asa and Denji. To be honest, I don't even think they'll have an argument. I think Asa would just run away. Yeah, but for the most part, that's about the end of the chapter. But thankfully, there is a chapter next week, so we won't have to wait too long to see what comes of this. That was a pun. So funny. But yeah, that's about it for me for today. I'll see y'all